guys, welcome back to one of our tutorials once again. Today we're going to learn how to paint B1 battle droids. I have found a method on my B1 battle droids how you can paint them very quickly, very effectively. So I'm going to teach you guys how to. So we're going to grab the painting list really quick here. So what we're going to need and what we're going to do is we're going to prime our models first with a Zenreader spray. Then we're going to wash them with a mix of aqueous earthshade, lamina medium. We're going to do some dry brushing with some bone colors, and then we're going to wash it again. Also, optionally, I'm going to show you how to do some battle damage to your droids, along with how I painted my bases to give them a more like a Star Warsy or alien feel. So without any further ado, let's set up the cameras and we'll be right back with you guys. Hey guys, welcome back. So we set up all the cameras, so let's begin. So first off, as you can see, I've primed my model with Zenreader dust. So I'm going to give you a close look for a minute. Well, anyway, as you can see, it is prime Zenreader dust, so we'll see if we can fix the focus in a minute. And also the finished result. So we have a B1 battle droid here with some battle damage and with some very quick highlighting on there as well. Alright, so the first step is to, of course, start with the shading. So we're going to use a mix of aqueous earthshade and lamina medium. So we have some lamina medium and we have some earthshade as well. So we're going to mix it, but what I like to do is grab an empty pot. For example, this was an empty lamina medium pot, because this works really well with batch painting your B1 battle droids. So I put in halfway lamina medium, halfway aqueous earthshade, give it a shake, and then you have a big pot of the mix. So you can quickly, paint multiple B1s at the same time. Alright, just to show you guys, I'm going to mix them from the pots now. So it is an equal mix, which means one part lamina medium, so that could be one brush lamina medium, one brush aqueous earthshade, or you can do, for example, 2 brushes of lamina medium and then 2 brushes of earthshade. So 1, 2, and you can apply this over your whole model. So we're starting from the top of the model and we're working our way down. And just make sure that you don't apply too much so it doesn't start to pull. And you can easily recognize this if there's a whole drop basically settling in just one position. If that happens, that's not a problem. Just clean out your brush real quick and wipe it away. So this is a real nice technique as well to use with batch painting your B1 droid. So what I like to do is to basically build my whole unit of B1s first and paint them all at the same time. So then I have like the 8 or 9 B1s on a row, apply this stage on them first and then move on to the next stage. Alright, so I applied the shade to the whole model. So let's see if I can give you a really quick look here. Alright, so again, just make sure that it doesn't settle just in one place. It's equally divided amongst the model. Alright, so once this is done, you have to let it dry for about 20 or 30 minutes. But we're not gonna let you guys wait for that, so I already have a model here ready for the next step. So as you can see, what I did also is I painted the base real quick as well. So the color I used is Mechanicum Standard Gray. Of course, this is optional because I'm just going to show you guys how I painted my bases. You can basically do any color, but if you want to follow along with my base scheme, then you start with a layer of Mechanicum Standard Gray. What really works well with light models, because the B1 of course are very light colors, to use dark bases. So this is why I'm going for the dark gray. So the next step is to apply dry brush to these guys. So for dry brushing we need a piece of toilet paper. And we're going to need to color a Shepty bone. And we're going to need a dry brush. So you just apply some paint to your dry brush and wipe most of that off from a piece of toilet paper. There we go. And then again we're going to apply this to the whole model, but we're going to be very gentle with this so it's not too strong. So just a very light layer on top of our V1. And so what you can see, what I'm doing is I keep going up and down, trying to move in the same direction the whole time. Alright, so this was the Shepty bone step, so let's take a quick look here. So as you can see, a very light dry brush that you have some few highlights coming out there. Alright, so the next step is to even push that highlight a little bit further by using a lighter color. So we're going to use Screaming Skull now. And we're going to do the same thing. So remove that excess paint from my brush until there's very little left on your brush. And you're going to do the same thing, but you're going to try to be even lighter with this one. And it doesn't matter if you are touching the gun or any other parts, just do the whole model as well. So there we go. And as you can see now, if you give me a minute, there we go. We've added even a little bit more of a highlighting on there. Alright, so on to the next step, which is take back that shade, so that 1:1 mix of Agros Urchin and Lamy Medium. So I'm going to grab my mix pot here. And I'm going to reapply that shade once again. So the reason I do this is because it will soften those, that sort of like rough or hard look that dry brushing gives you. So it will hide that roughness, and it also will darken up even the more, like the parts we shaded first are going to be even darker than before, which gives a very nice look to our miniature. So we're reapplying the shade once again, and this is again an all over shade. So once again, just be sure to not apply too much, just a very thin layer so that you touch everything. So you don't want to apply too much at once. There we go. So as you can see, I shaded it very quickly because you just want a very thin second layer on there. Alright. So once again, you need to let that dry. And once that's dry, the result should look something like this. So we have a very nice sandy B1 tone on our model, as well as some highlighting thanks to dry brushing. Which means our next step is actually really simple, which is battle damage, and then of course the gun as well. So what we're going to do first is the gun. So for the gun, you will need the color Black Templar. It's a contrast paint. And we're going to apply that to all the yeah, well, gun parts or the whole guns. So you don't need to thin this down with water, just straight from the pot. And we're going to apply this to all the E5 guns. There we go. And you can actually apply this one quite thick, so you don't have to be too careful with this one. Just try to be as neat as possible so you don't have to clean up any mistakes. And if you accidentally spill a little bit on your B1 model or your armor color, that's no problem. Just grab a little bit of Zenry dust from a pot and you can retouch those areas that you accidentally hit with the Black Templar. Alright. So on the Sergeant, for example, he has a gun on his back. And I used Black Templar to make that gun a black look. Alright, so the next step is the battle damage. So for the battle damage we'll need two things actually. We need a dark brown color, so it doesn't really matter which brown color. It can be a color, for example, I'm using dried bark. But you can also use Rhinox hide or any dark Vallejo color or Army Painter color, as long as it's just a dark brown color. You can even use a black color if you like as well. So, and you also need a piece of sponge, so just rip that off there. And we're going to apply some of the paint on the sponge. And then you're going to remove, just like dry brushing, remove most of it by tapping on your palette or on a piece of paper. This way you have more control over your paint to apply the battle damage or the B1 droid. So this comes down to personal preference. I mean, you can be really aggressive with this and just apply a whole lot, or you can just apply just a very little bit of it on every edge or piece. So as you can see, I'm being very gentle here with applying the battle damage because I don't want them to be too dirty looking, and maybe a little bit more in the chest as well. So there we go. And again, you can be, you know, as aggressive with this, or you can apply as much as you want, or as little as you want. All right, so as you can see now, I applied some battle damage on the chests, a little bit on the arms, a little bit on the legs as well. Alright, so and actually that is all you need to paint your B1 armor and your weapons, etc, etc. Now to give you a little bit of an optional choice here, if you want to paint the bases like I paint them, is first off you need to put a layer of known oil on your base. So going back to this miniature to give you a quick example, I'm going to grab some known oil shade here. And you don't need to thin this down with Lamy and medium. You can put it straight on there. So, first step, apply known oil over the Mechanicum standard gray. There we go. Alright, and so once that's dry, we can start with dry brushing. So once again, grabbing this model where the shade already dried up. And the first step is to dry brush it with Dawnstone, which is a lighter grayish color. And we're using the dry brushing technique once again. To apply a very light layer of Dawnstone on there. So I'm not sure if you guys can see this. just a very light layer. Because we're going to use multiple colors for this, so the next color is an even lighter gray, which is Administratum gray. And again, it's a very light layer of dry brushing over this other layer of Dawnstone. So you don't need a lot of paint on your brush. And as you can see, I'm also not washing my brush at this stage because you want to keep your dry brush dry, because otherwise it will just look messy. And on the other hand, if these colors mix just a little, it will only look a little bit better, so that's okay. So you can also apply a little bit of a white tone or a tone like Palette Witch Flash over these colors. Do we have a white color over there maybe? Yes, there we go. Alright, so for example, I use this color, Palette Witch Flash. And you want to be really careful with this one, because it might look a little bit too strong if you apply too much of it. So again, try to remove as much as possible from this color. And just, again, apply a very thin dry brush over the base. Let's see if you guys can see this. So I add a little bit of Palette Witch Flash over there. And now to give it a little bit more of an alien feel, or more like an, you know, alien-like planet, we're going to add a little bit of an extra shade to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to use Carroburg Crimson, which is a sort of like a purplish or reddish shade. And once again, we're also going to grab some Lamium Medium. We're going to mix those two again, but this time we're going to use a little bit more medium. So let's say 2 parts of medium, so 1, 2 brushes, and just 1 brush of Carroburg Crimson. Just a little bit. There we go. We mix those two together. So it's more like a little bit of a glaze, and we're going to apply that over the base. And once you apply that over the whole base, you'll just need to let it dry again for about 20 minutes. And as you can probably imagine, this works really well with painting multiple B1s at the same time. But actually these are all the steps for painting your B1. So all what's left to do now is repaint the rim with a black color or a brown color, whichever one you prefer. And once you've done that, the finished result, if you add some tufts and everything, should look like this. So I'm going to add some white background to see if you guys can maybe see it a little bit better. Yeah. So remember, using those dry brushes very lightly, as you can see, really helps with touching those edge highlights, and it's a really easy way and really quick way to highlight your B1s. So once again, this method works best with batch painting your B1s. So just build a unit, paint that whole unit first, do one stage on all the B1 units, and then, you know, once the first unit of B1s is drying from the shade, go on to your second unit, and so on and so on. So I hope you guys learned something from this today. Anyway, this is how I paint my B1s. So again, I really was able to paint my B1s very quickly using this technique. And I think it works really well. So I hope you guys learned something and can use it as well in your own B1s. So once again, we're going over the colors for a moment here. The first step is to prime your miniatures with Sandry Dust. Be careful with this as well, because Sandry Dust is a little bit thicker than a normal black spray, in my opinion. So be sure to, you know, spray in short bursts so that you don't, you know, clog your model with paint. And then of course the step 2, the wash. The trick in washing these miniatures is using that lamy and medium together with your shades, because thinning down your shades really helps to make it easier to repaint your models or highlight them without them looking very stainy, or a shade without any lamy medium can come off really strong. So be sure to thin down your shades with medium. And then of course the battle damage, as you see, is a very simple technique of using any dark brown or black color. So in this case I used dried bark, but you can basically use any dark brownish tone or any black tone to do that battle damage with the sponge technique. Black temper is great for painting really quick weapons, as you saw as well. It's just one thick coat. What you can also do, if you don't like just the black look, is grab a little bit of a silver paint and dry brush that very lightly over your gun. And then of course, this is the recipe for my bases as well, but you can really change it up to match it in your own army. So if you have any ideas of your own on painting your bases, definitely do that as well. But if you like the way I did my bases, this is the recipe. Alright, so it was very quickly, I want to thank you guys again for watching, and I hope once again you've learned something from this. So take care guys, we'll see you guys soon.